Hello and welcome. Today we're going to search for some powerful leadership wisdom, but maybe from a source you wouldn't expect, 7th century Arabia. We're going to explore the life of the Prophet Muhammad, not really from a theological angle, but as a case study, a blueprint of principles that are, you'll see, incredibly relevant for any of us trying to make our way in the professional world today.
We're about to find out the fundamental challenges of leadership. Building trust, inspiring a vision, and uniting diverse groups of people. Those things don't really change. They're timeless.
So, to really get a grip on his influence, we have to go right back to the beginning. See, long before he was a prophet or a leader of a state, he was building the one thing that every great leader absolutely needs, a reputation built on pure, unshakable trust.
Now, his early life was anything but easy. He was born into a pretty prominent tribe in Mecca, but he lost both his parents when he was very young. He was raised by his grandfather and then his uncle, and he got into the world of trade. And it was right there, in the hustle and bustle of the marketplace, that he started making a name for himself, not because of how much profit he made, but because of the strength of his character. His integrity was so consistent, so reliable, that the people in his community actually gave him a nickname. They called him Al-Amin, which means the trustworthy one. Just think about that for a second. Before he had any kind of formal authority, he had massive social capital. And this is exactly where this ancient lesson becomes so real for us. Today, we'd call this his personal brand. Whether you're leading a small project, trying to close a big deal, or just working with your colleagues, that basic currency of trust, well, it's everything. It's the foundation that all of your professional success is going to be built on.
Big turning point comes around the year 610. He starts to share a message that was, for its time, completely disruptive. It was a call for one God, for social justice, for ethical reform. Now, in a society built on the worship of many idols and a rigid tribal hierarchy, this wasn't just some new idea. It was a direct threat to the whole power structure. So it's no surprise that the establishment didn't just disagree, they pushed back, and they pushed back hard.
And here's the key lesson for anyone, really, who's trying to drive change in a company or an industry. If your vision is genuinely transformative, you are going to face resistance. It's almost a guarantee. In fact, it's a sign that you're actually challenging something important. Leadership isn't just about having a great vision. It's about having the grit and the resilience to defend it when people come after you.
Okay, so when the pressure back in Mecca became just too much to bear, it was time for a major strategic pivot. But this wasn't a retreat, not at all. It was a relocation, a chance to stop protesting an old system and start building a brand new one from the ground up. This migration, which is known as the Hijra, was an absolutely pivotal move. I mean, think of it like a startup founder leaving a hostile market and moving to a new city that's actually excited about their vision. They left Mecca and traveled to a city called Yathrib, which they would later rename Medina. And they had a really clear goal: to build a new community, a new society, based on their founding principles.
And one of the very first things he did as a leader in this new city just shows his genius as a community builder. He didn't just impose a set of rules. No, he created a contract. He actually brought together all the different groups in Medina, the Muslim migrants, the local Arab tribes, and the Jewish communities, to agree on a shared framework for how they could all live together.
This document, the Constitution of Medina, was basically the world's first detailed social contract. In today's business lingo, we'd call this establishing a strong, inclusive corporate culture right from day one. It wasn't just for one group. It explicitly laid out the rights and the responsibilities of every single community, creating a pluralistic society built on mutual respect and the rule of law. Pretty amazing stuff for the 7th century. But leadership isn't only about building things when times are good. It's really, really tested during times of conflict. And his approach here gives us a powerful lesson in something we now call emotional intelligence. So let's fast forward a few years, through a lot of struggle and conflict. The tables have now completely turned. In the year 630, the Prophet returns to Mecca, the very city that threw him out. But this time, he's leading a powerful force. The entire city is at his mercy. This is the moment of truth. What's he going to do?
Everyone expected revenge. They were bracing for payback after years of persecution. But what happened next was just a masterclass in leadership. He declared a general amnesty. He forgave those who had been his most bitter, most hateful enemies. And the lesson there? Well, in the long run, mercy is a much more powerful and strategic tool for building a future than revenge is for settling the past.
And this brings us to the very culmination of his life's work. In his final public address, he didn't just give a speech, he laid down a final, lasting blueprint for the kind of society he had worked so hard to build. 2 years after that peaceful conquest of Mecca, during his final pilgrimage, he delivered what's now known as the final sermon. This was his farewell address, and it was a powerful, powerful summary of the just, equitable, and compassionate society he had always strived to create.
And in that sermon, he said something that was just centuries ahead of its time. He completely dismantled the old hierarchies of tribe and race, and he declared that the only thing that makes one person better than another is their character and their good deeds. In a 7th century tribal society, this was an absolutely revolutionary call for a true meritocracy. So when you just step back and look at the whole picture, what you see is a surprisingly modern framework for what it means to be a good leader, advocating for the vulnerable, choosing diplomacy over fighting, leading with trust, creating a clear social contract. These aren't just little historical footnotes. They are urgent, critical lessons for any leader in the world today. So the final question really isn't about history or theology. It's about you. As you head into your next meeting or your next project or that next difficult conversation you have to have, just ask yourself, how can I lead with more trust? How can I be a bit more courageous with my vision? How can I show a little more compassion? The answers, as it turns out, might just be found in lessons that have been waiting for us for over 1,400 years.